What it's for is connecting people to so that they can get their role plays done. Rather than we used to have a long waiting list if people didn't have friends and family to help them as clients do their role plays. You used to jump on a Hader waiting list, and you might have to wait 3 or 4 weeks or a couple of months before everybody could get logistically locked in. But here, you could literally jump on here and organize a role play in half an hour and have it completed and uploaded in a couple of days. And it is really working really, really well. So once you've seen all of the terms and conditions, you click on accept, which is either a tick or a 100% or a thumbs up, and then it'll take you into all the channels that we've got. Just because you're doing alcohol and other drugs topic doesn't mean that this is the channel you have to stay in. If everybody's busy in here, then maybe it might be somebody in mental health or um, individual support or community services. They might be willing also to do a role play. Um, and just because you're doing alcohol and other drugs, this is everybody in alcohol and other drugs in here. And that means diploma level, that means certificate 4 level, that means short course. Some people are just they're wondering about doing a Cert 4 and they're thinking, maybe I'll just do one 3-week module on one of the AOD ones, like responding to crisis interventions or something like that, or working in a drug and alcohol context. So they'll do the same assessments as you, but they're literally only doing 3-week course, a 3-week module. Because they've got to do the same role plays and the same assessments, they can jump in here and ask for advice, get help, do the role plays with any of you guys. So it's meant to get people joined together so that they can get the role plays completed. If you're fairly new, or even if you're not new and you're just wanting to just take it easy with role plays at the beginning, that's fine. Try and help out somebody else with a role play instead, even if you don't want to risk risk your own role play and your own acting. Throw it on somebody else, and they'll tell you exactly what to do. They'll tell you what to say. They'll give you a script. They'll advise you how to respond, because people are really, really desperate to get their role plays done. And just try and help if you can. It really does help. You won't believe how much it helps until in a few months' time you really, really need somebody to do a role play. Yeah. So that's that. And if you need anything, do contact us. You can send an email to LSO. I'll put LSO's email in the chat now. So it's LSO at Hader Institute. Hold on, I spelled it wrong. .edu.au. If you need if you want to book a session for a chat with me about a role play, about an assessment, and you don't understand what it's saying, or there's a spelling mistake, and like it's not perfect, unfortunately. So just use this, and it's usually Mondays. Just use that link and book anything that's free. You're allowed like an hour a month, I think it is, with either me or somebody in learning support. It's part of your can't think of the word, entitlement. It's part of your entitlement as a learner there here. All right, so let's get on this. We're all visitors to this place. We're just passing through. Our purpose here is to observe, to learn, to grow, to love, and then we return home. So it's almost like the Aboriginal um, theory is almost in a cycle, and it goes round and it goes back to the beginning. So it's not a line where you start at birth and then end at death. It's a loop that you get into the loop when you're born, and then you go all the way around, and then at the end there isn't an end. You just go um, back around again. So in that way, it's almost like life is talking about a journey. So we're on a journey, and it's not that we're going from the beginning to the end. We're going on the journey, and we've got um, journey members. We've got other people coming with us. We've got people that are going to help us on the journey. We're going to have people to help on the journey. So life is the journey, and it's not a beginning and an end where it goes all the way up. It's not like that. So in this unit, we use this is important for assessment and everyday life. In this unit, we use the term Indigenous, Aboriginal, and Torres Strait Islander, using the abbreviation ATSI, which we probably see on a million different government documents, or the word Aborigine, they're considered offensive and disrespectful. ATSI just lumps everybody together. We're not bothered whether you're Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, just ATSI. We'll just throw them all in that group. Um, and I know the government aren't meaning to do that, because when on that kind of form, it would be Caucasian, it could be Asian, potentially, and then all the different brackets, they put them together, ATSI. But still, it's not something that we would use in community services. Um, Equally, Aborigine, it's hard to describe it, but it's more when the original settlers used to see the indigenous communities as part of flora and fauna. That's almost the Aborigine is almost that type of word, almost native, like on a really, really old movie when the explorers used to go to the foreign countries, and it's the posh explorers would be talking about the natives in the jungle. That the way that condescending language is mentioned, that's the Aborigine word. So we use Aboriginal and Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander. The word, yeah, yeah, totally, ma'am. Um, so custodians of the land. So when somebody's a custodian, they're looking after something for somebody else. If you go off on a journey and you leave, like you're going traveling around Australia and you leave your house with somebody else to look after, they're going to be a custodian of your house. If you're really, really nice and you lend them your car as well, that's pretty cool. I know somebody that their parents would never let them use the car when they were the mum would never ever let them use the car while mum went away, because they're afraid that it might get damaged. So when we're custodians, we're looking after something for somebody else. And that's the specific word that the community uses to describe what we're doing on this planet. Yes, Farani.
I'm just curious what ATSI stand for.
It's here. It's
Australian.
Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, ATSI.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. So custodians of the land. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the first Australians, meaning they are the custodians of Australian land. There's no um, there's no issue with us being custodians of the land as well. But when the original colonizers came over and said, "Oh, that land doesn't belong to anybody, so we'll have it. So this is now our land." It was almost as if, like the elders and the indigenous community said, "What do you mean? The land is yours. Like how can you own land? Are you going to own the air? Do you own the water as well? Um, like, do you own the sunshine? Who owns land? So, in that way, they their reply would be that how can you own land? We're just a custodian of it. We're just looking after it. We're trying our best to look after it. Because there's no way we can own all of that. How can you own? You can barely look after all of this, but we're not doing a great job, to be fair, at looking after the planet. Anyway, so before the colonization of Australia by the British in 1788, Australian Aboriginals lived on this land for at least 60,000 years. Some may suggest much longer. There is no written history, only remains of Dreamtime stories, cave paintings, and etchings displaying their extraordinary past. It's so while there's no literary history, we don't have libraries full of history books from 5, 6, 700 years ago or thousands of years ago. Going on a bushwalk, you can pretty easily find some history laid around on rocks, on caves, and that's almost the history book that we've got showing what happened and um, how life was for thousands of years. So, indigenous Australia, people did not have the economy of money, rather of daily activities such as hunting, fishing, and seed gathering. So, while there was no money economy, it was a massive trade in um, in everyday life, like in a massive way, but in a tiny way. You would have some people are fishing, some people are hunting. We need fish. We need somebody needs fish. Somebody else needs some tools. Somebody else needs a boat repairing. Somebody else would like some lamb. So people would just trade whatever they've got. People using their own skill, they would literally trade what they have, and that would go all the way through the community. Whether you can climb trees, whether you can use some wood to make a tool, whatever your skill is, you would then use that skill and use it to trade with somebody else that they need something that you've got and you need something that they've got. Everyone made and repaired spears, boomerangs, and digging sticks, mainly out of wood. Ground edge tools made of stone were used as early as 10,000 years before Europeans. So there wasn't any synthetic tools. There wasn't any things that didn't come from the land. Food came from the land. Tools came from the land. Um, when we die, we go back into the land, and this was all known like thousands of years ago. So the land was almost our provider. So again, we can't own the land. The land gives us everything that we need. And when we die and we cark it, then we actually go back into the land. So we can't own something that is providing so much for us. So the diversity in culture, when we talk about diversity, and diversity nowadays of the different cultures in Australia, especially in the metropolitan areas. If you go out out of the city, it might get a little bit less diverse. But comparing that to how it's been for so long, people miss the complex nature and the total diversity of our culture. So all the different clans, all the different indigenous groups, all the way through Australia. We've trying to just remember that's Byron Bay, isn't it? Right on the edge. So I'm down here in Sydney. We've got Victoria down here. Quite a lot of densely populated smaller tribes down here, all the way down the east coast there as well. A lot of smaller clans, and then the bigger ones heading out into the middle. That's diversity. That's huge. New South Wales, Victoria. So we was talking about an estimated 600, maybe 600 different clan groups or nations around the continent. Some would be living in different areas, but it might be the same clan, and then you might go through a different clan to get back to the original clan that you were from. So they might be in different areas, but 600 on the whole. Different groups or clans develop their own unique skills, stories, dreaming tracks, languages, traditions, family kinship, structures, and cultural expectations. So obviously, a family or families in a clan that live right out on eastern New South Wales at the beach near the ocean, the whole culture is going to be completely different to somebody that's, well, Darwin, right up here, not on the coast of Darwin, but right in the middle, in the like hotter part. So massively different culture. And to think about, in, it's almost silly to say indigenous culture because that's going to be two massively different cultures straight away. For somebody that's right in the middle of the heart of Australia to somebody that's on the east coast, and then you keep going. You talk about Perth, down in South Australia, uh, all the different geography that's there, and the different weather patterns that are there straight away start to build up into the whole community is going to be completely different. Number one, because the geography is different. Number two, because the weather might be different. And remembering how huge Australia is, we start to realize that it's silly to talk about indigenous culture because so much different cultures. Indigenous cultures would be better, and indigenous clans, indigenous languages, because of all the different languages we use. We're not going into breakout rooms yet. So Australian Indigenous communities kept their cultural heritage alive by passing their knowledge, arts, rituals, and performances from one generation to another, and by protecting cultural materials and sacred sites. When a child is born, it's traditional to one of the elders or one of the senior family members would pick an animal or a, a local emblem or symbol that's important around the village, around the house, and that would be important to the child as they grow up. It would be called a totem. Similar to Indigenous Americans with having certain symbols on a totem pole, and very, very similar because it's an animal or it's a representation of something that's really, really important in that society, in that tribe, in that area. So this totem is a first step to our life cycle. It brings certain custodial roles, responsibility and customs for the person. Like a baby boy might have the sand goanna as his totem. This means that as he grows, he will be educated in all the aspects of the spiritual significance of the sand goanna. This totem will become a guardian and will be a source of identity, strength, and guidance during his life. So thinking about things like resilience, thinking about things like that they can get anywhere, they can survive, they're resilient enough to hide from the sun when it's too hot, they're resilient enough to come out into the sun when it's just the right temperature. So certain positive characteristics would be used for the child as they're growing up. Excuse me. Thinking about sacred land, with Aboriginal people living in both the physical and the spiritual world, Aboriginal people see the land as their mother, spiritually, physically, and emotionally, because that's where everything comes from. Whatever we're doing, it's going to come from the land originally. The relationship with the land is one of receiving and giving. We don't own the land, but we are custodians of it. If the original colonizers had gone to a different country and taken that attitude with maybe other nations that don't hold the land as sacred and important, maybe they would have got away with it, and maybe it wouldn't have been as harsh. Maybe they would have been fighting over the land because the settlers have come and they're trying to take away our land that we use. But in Australia, because land is so important and sacred and not something that you can own, it just hasn't, it didn't work. There was no, the claim of ownership wasn't accepted, really. So we came from the land, so we belong to the land. The land gives us everything we need: food, shelter, weapon, tools and weapons. Country is centric to the well-being of us Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Country is not just soil, rocks and minerals, but it's places, times and spirits. And just finally looking at kinship, different clans develop slightly different family structures. As I said, depending on where you live in Australia, obviously kinship is going to be massively different. The role of kinship is going to still be there. Massive respect for the elders, the wiser people in the society. That's going to be there wherever you are in Australia. But there would be certainly beliefs about how the tribe, the clan, how came to be, different Dreamtime stories, different religious, slightly different religious ceremonies. But each of the clans around, depending on where they're based geographically. All right, we're going to leave it there for a while and move towards the assessments. Before I look at the assessments, one of the other trainers, Cheyenne, has done a really good video about role plays. So I wanted to show you this for when you're doing role plays. This is important whether you've done a few already, whether you're starting out. It's advice on what we're looking for. Like Hader is not, we're not trying to set you up to fail and say, oh, you've failed. You've failed another role play. You failed an assessment and we get points because you failed. It's not like that. We're trying to do as much as we can to help you figure out how can you pass these assessments. This one's really, really difficult. How can you pass this one? Because we, as I've already mentioned, we haven't designed the course. The government designs the course, so we have to try and help you pass the course. So whether it's a really easy one that we can say, yeah, this one is really easy, or it's another one where we said this is really hard. What is expected in this role play is really, really difficult. So then we're trying to do as much as we can to help you. If you can, if this video gets circulated, it's only 6 minutes long. But if it gets circulated and pass it around, that'd be really, really good. But I'll put this on now.
Hello everyone, my name is Cheyenne. Today we'll go through the key do's and don'ts for role plays. These guidelines will help you ensure that your submissions meet industry expectation and also demonstrate your skills more effectively. Role plays are a very important part of assessments, so following these best practices will support your success. Now let's go over the do's for role plays. Following these best practices will help you present a more professional and effective role play submission. First of all, prepare in advance. Always read the instructions carefully so you don't misunderstand and you understand the expectations of the role play. read the instructions carefully. So make sure you follow all task requirements to demonstrate the necessary skills. Have a quiet space. A distraction-free environment will help ensure clear communication and a professional setting. Allow others to read from scripts. Again, allow others to read off scripts. Supporting participants can use scripts to maintain accuracy and consistency. So your family and friends and other learners who are helping you in the role play can read off scripts, but not the person who's being assessed. Demonstrate micro skills. So you've got to use active listening, paraphrasing, and summarizing to enhance communication. It's important that you stick to time limits, so keep within the required time frame to stay focused on key aspects of the role play. Also engage in two-way communication, so encourage open dialogue by asking open-ended questions and active listening. Finally, ensure good audio and video quality. Check your lighting, microphone, and camera clarity to avoid technical issues. By following these do's, you'll ensure your role play meets industry standards and effectively demonstrate your skills. Now let's go over the don'ts. These are common mistakes that can negatively impact your role play performance. First of all, don't have one person playing multiple roles. Each role should have a separate person to ensure a realistic interaction. Don't go off topic, so stick to the scenario and focus on the objectives of the role play. Next, don't interrupt or talk over others. Allow natural conversation flow and ensure all participants have a chance to speak. Now, the next one is important. It's about virtual backgrounds. You can use virtual backgrounds, but just double check when you do some testing before you submit it, that the virtual background does not interfere with the visibility and it does not make it hard to assess body language and engagement for the trainers. There's been occasions where people have used virtual backgrounds and they have caused issues with the visibility of the person being assessed, and we had to ask them to redo the assessment again. So please just make sure you're testing a virtual background first, make sure it does not affect the visibility. And if it does, try another one. If you can't find one that doesn't affect visibility, then simply do not use one at all. Next, don't rush through the role play. So please take your time to engage meaningfully and demonstrate your skills effectively. This one's important. Don't read word for word from a script for the main role. Again, don't read word for word from a script for the main role. Again, the supporting role, your friends and families who help you to play the participants in the role play can read off scripts, but you, the learner who is being assessed, cannot read off scripts. You can have notes to help you and prompt you, but that is it. This is because we want you to respond naturally and show your ability to think on your feet, and also to display micro skills. You can't do this if you're reading off a script. The next one is don't ignore ethical or legal considerations. We want you to maintain confidentiality, professionalism, and appropriate boundaries. Don't show disengagement, so avoid monotone speech, lack of eye contact, or appearing uninterested. By avoiding these don'ts, you will ensure more effective role play, that you're engaged, and also ensuring a professional role play submission. Okay, final tips for role plays. So to wrap it up, on your screen are some final tips to ensure successful role play submissions. Again, follow the instructions carefully. Make sure you understand the role play requirements and expectations. Don't change the instructions to fit. Make sure you follow each instruction. Create a professional environment for recording. So choose a quiet, well-lit space to ensure clarity in your video. Next, stay in character and demonstrate your skills. You have to engage naturally and apply relevant micro skills. Also, keep engagement high and respond naturally. Avoid sounding robotic or disengaged, and also interact meaningfully. And this will help if you do not read off scripts. Use these guidelines to improve your submissions. So please follow the best practices, because this will ensure that you, and this will enhance the quality of your role plays. If you need further clarification, please contact LSO for support. Thank you for your time and best of luck with your role plays.
So through the whole course, you've probably got about 20 role plays to do. Some with me, some with mates, some with family, if you want to do with family. Keep saying it. Honestly, it's great that family and friends can jump in and help if they want. Sometimes they're a bit nosy and they want to know what you're studying. That's fine. But when they are they're more bothered about trying to get the acting perfect with a script. If you get somebody else from your class or somebody else in Hader, they're not as bothered about the script, and they're trying to set you up so that when they know what you have to say and how you have to respond in a role play, then they're not going to be thinking about the next words that they have to say, which is what we would normally do. They're going to be thinking about, okay, the next thing I have to say needs to be so that you can say, what do you mean you've been sleeping rough for the past 3 days? Really? So when your mate or classmate is ready to jump in and say that, then the role play flows a lot more, and you know exactly what you're saying, and you're more comfortable because you know that somebody else is ready to set you up. There's no role plays for this module about Indigenous Australia, which is perfect. So plenty of time to practice. Cheyenne mentioned backgrounds. So when he said that you shouldn't read from a script because we want you to think on your feet, and we want to. That's right. But it's government's fault. That's who we're blaming anyway. So assessment conditions. Skills must have been demonstrated in the workplace. Well, we don't have a placement in AOD, so it's going to be a role play. Or in a simulated environment that reflects workplace conditions. If your role play looks like you've done it from your bed, that's not workplace conditions. If your workplace looks like you sat in a gym and you're talking to a mate in the gym, and there's people around, and you're meant to be talking about domestic family violence with somebody that's really, really affected, that's not a real workplace environment. So it's got to reflect workplace conditions. Where simulation is used, it must reflect the real working conditions modeled by industry operating conditions and contingencies. So we did role plays last week. I'm not calling anybody out, but I am just mentioning this is why last week when we did a role play, I said, okay, you need to get off your bed. You need to put a jacket on. You need to put a shirt on, cover your shoulders. Pretend you're going straight to work now, ready to do this role play. Coming to class and wearing what you want is fine. We're doing a role play. This is the government saying you can't look like it's half-baked, half-assed. Next level, as well as using suitable facilities, equipment, and resources. So if you can't make your in your room, if you can't make it look like an office, use a background, use an artificial background. Set up behind you with tables and chairs, put some paperwork on the table, like documents, and spread them out, and make it look like an office. If you haven't got that facility, that's fine. Use something like this office background. But if you're using an office background, we had somebody that this week that used a background, and they spent most of the role play with can't see myself now, disappearing off the camera. And that meant we couldn't see them at all. So just check your role play before you upload it. Also, all right, yeah, man, what were you going to say?
Yeah, thanks, Dwayne. You can obviously see my background at the moment, and last week we did role play. And so does that mean now that we recorded that for nothing and I can't submit that?
Yeah. So the other thing is, start of every role play would be almost robotic. Basically, this is my background. So hi, I'm Dwayne. I'm doing role play CHCDIV002, role play number 2, and a brief case study. Like for a few weeks, I've been working with Peter. Peter is trying to think, he's suffering with mental health issues. He's severe depression. He's been taking my antidepressants for 6 months. He's been talking to me for 3 weeks. I'm looking into some goals with him, potentially trying to get him out to the community. He's wanting to stay in the house all the time, but I would really like him to get out into the community and maybe meet some more family, maybe build up his social networks. So that's a bit about the case study. This is my ID, and you've just missed because it's there. So that's my driver's license. If you haven't got a driver's license or you haven't got a student ID card, then your HADA student ID. But because of the stupid background that I put up, putting anything too close to the camera means that you don't see it. And a lot of people are saying, this is my ID, and you can't see it. But it's a legal thing. When you do a role play, it's a legal document. Emails, templates, they're all legal documents that say that you're going to be passing this subject. So if you are using ID, we have to be able to see it to prove you are who you are. I might know who you are, and I might be fairly sure that I'm looking at you and your role play, but it might not be me that marks it. It might be somebody else that's never seen you before. So they have to know that you are the person that you are saying that you're meant to be. I think that's everything. And yeah, like I said, there's no role plays for this module. So for the next 3 weeks, if you needed to get any other role plays fixed up over the next few weeks, then we can work on them. We'll look at the assessments for this module after break. That's it. Let's go for break. 10 minutes break. in short. So assessments. The learner guide. All right, the learner guide. This is an important learner guide because it tells you all about first access. So probably spend a bit of time talking about that as well. So while you're studying at Hader, then you get to pretend to be working in this community service agency. It's a bit like Anglicare or Uniting Care. Like they've got, what have they got? They've got loads and loads of different departments, like loads of different community service departments that that are very similar to all the major massive like community service agencies. So they've got domestic family violence, they've got dependence addiction, youth work, like life services, career planning, health, well-being, homelessness, housing, financial support. So you can imagine that they're almost like Anglicare or Salvos. Yeah. So then you know all about them then. Yeah, that's right. So with almost every single role play or assessment, you're going to be doing something else pretty much with first access. And it's like a journey all the way through your course. You're going to be working with the same people, or you're going to be, even if it's a work health and safety one, you're still going to be working with the same people from first access. So I don't know why they've put it on here because it's not really related to Indigenous Torres Strait Islander assessments. So, like I said, it's an artificial one. It's not real. Trying to get the login. There it is. So it's an artificial one. It's not real. You would log in with like this. And then if you're expected to if you're expected to do a work health and safety document, or you're expected to write an email to your boss, or you're expected to do a mental health safety plan, everything is going to be on the staff portal in first access. If you are expected to write an email to your boss, you're going to be, whichever work industry you're in, whichever workplace you're in, you're going to be using their documents. If you were working for a massive organization and you were writing an email to a boss, or you were doing a mental health safety plan, and you just Googled the internet and just went and used a random template from the internet, you'd be in trouble because they'd be saying, why didn't you use our documents? It's got to have our letterhead on, it's got to have our signature on, it's got to have our like name and address. Don't use another agency template when we've got our own. And it's the same with our assessments. You've got to be using these and you've got to find whichever one it is. It's not that we're trying to make it hard to find. If you can't find it, just ask somebody else. Has anyone got the template for so-and-so? And we can dead easily get you it. So even some of them that are hard to find, we'll just get them for you. Yeah, Barani.
Login details for first access.
This is the learner guide has all of the login details. So I'll go back there and it'll show you how to get into it. Yeah, so the login. So that was the website, but to log in, you pretend you're a member of staff, and I can give you it because I don't know what it is, but it's easier if you can see it, and then you just copy and paste it.
It is in the assessment when you're on that module. It has it when you need to
That's
use
right.
it.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
It has the
And it's-
website and then the login details under it.
That's
in
true.
The actual assessment.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll leave that. Anyway, this learning guide for this module, it's that's what we're looking at. That's what we're studying. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander history. This really is this week. The before colonization. This really after colonization next week. And then this week working in community with working in cultural safety, really. That's what we're talking about, working in cultural safety. How to work with different methods and different strategies that support cultural safety, not cultural awareness, cultural safety. So obviously, before colonization, Captain Cook. You don't have to read it all. It's not important that you read it all. For any module, you don't have to read the whole learning guide, especially when if you see a question that asks about cultural safety, you can just search the document. You can type Control F and then type cultural safety. Then straight away, it's found 145 different locations. And then you just click down to each part. We could change that to maybe indigenous. And I've spelled that wrong, so I can't see it. So Control F, and you can search the whole document to find the bits that you need. Has anybody not got this? We're going to have a look at the assessments in a minute. So it would help you to have it on hand. Does anybody need it? The learning guides are usually down the bottom of the portal, right in the bottom near resources, usually, just in case you need it. I'll throw it up when we get it organized anyway, just in case you do need it. So that's a learning guide. And these are the assessments. Like I said, there's no role play on this one, which is good. I'll go backwards. This is the reflection. So in this one, you need to complete the reflective journal using the template provided. Most of the course, like the full course, is all about getting knowledge, understanding how to use it, and then reflecting on how well you've done. If in community services, if we're not reflecting on how well we're doing, or how can we get better, how we can work more culturally safe, or work with different types of people, if we're not continually reflecting all the time, then we're not doing a very good job. So there's going to be pretty much a reflection in each module. So the reflective journal, describe at least one situation where you promoted First Nation cultural safety. If you haven't done this yourself, describe a time when you've seen someone else do this. Describe 3 potential cultural safety issues for First Nation people in your current or previous work context. If you don't have any contact with Indigenous or Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people, or you don't have that connection with anybody, then so within your current or previous workplace policies and procedures, is there any guidance on communicating with First Nation people? Discuss how this is helpful to you and your service. So a lot of the assessments for this module it doesn't matter where you work. You could be working in Macca's or you could be working in a factory. You can almost do these from your own policies and procedures. So this is the reflection anyway. The one before that is this is research. This is where you have to find a community member that might be an elder or somebody important in the Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander community, like a community worker there maybe, or a colleague. Not me, because I'm not. So do some research, identify and talk with a person who has a great deal of knowledge about the First Nation people of Australia, and then you're going to be answering questions on it. We've got a video for next week about Mitch Tambor, a key massive Australian like cultural worker and musician, rapper. So you can almost answer most of this just off his TV appearances, potentially. But if not, then do some research and find someone. So yeah, that's reflection. This is research. This is the case study. So watching a video on journey of health and well-being. You must answer all the questions in the parts correctly to achieve a satisfactory outcome. Define the term dispossession. When I'm not going to tell you because you might quote me and you'll get it wrong. So find out what dispossession means. It's in the learning guide. With the arrival of the dominant culture, explain how dispossession initially impacted First Nation people. Explain the initial purpose of legislation and policy in the early colonization of Australia. The video explains the term intergenerational trauma. In your own words, summarize intergenerational trauma, how it impacts First Nation people. We'll be able to do a lot of this in a couple of weeks' time when we do the third session. Some people are going to want to wait till then and some people won't. Explain why you believe it's important to understand intergenerational trauma with the community service sector. Identify 6 human rights that First Nations people were denied from the time of early colonization. And do you think that long-term cultural trauma affects an individual's ability to do everyday things such as making decisions, communicating? Don't just say yes or no. This is expecting you to like put a detailed answer in. It's not a yes or no question. It's a yes and why, or no and why. Explain. When it says explain, it means give not just a description, but explain his reasons. Lots of reasons. So the video discusses strategies to speed up the process of recovery from colonization and dispossession. Identify at least 5 strategies. So it's not difficult. It just takes research, really. So they're the 3 big topics. The other one is just, there's a little quiz or written questions at the beginning of all modules. Very, very simple. So we're going to break these up. How many we've got? So we've got 16 people. So if we do groups of 4, then groups of 4 to research 2 questions. That'll work. And then there'll be one group of 5 in the end. And just a few comments that I wasn't ignoring. Okay, if people haven't got the module in Accelerate, I'll have a check. I'll put the learning guide up. And I'll let you take a screenshot of the questions. Yes, I will, Coco. I'll get them to open it up. I don't know whether they ever listen to me. I'm sure they do. Yeah, Madison, it could be acknowledgement of country, definitely. I know a lot of some community leaders, Indigenous community leaders are saying that now acknowledgement of country has been so overused, it doesn't actually mean anything anymore. Which is, I don't know, I guess it's an important point. Originally it was used as a mark of respect, but now the familiarity that we have with it is it's just expected. We just recite it. We say it before every class. It means less now than it used to. And while if somebody was leaving their clan and going to another clan from indigenous communities, they were leaving their village, they're leaving their area, their country, and they're going to another clan area, they would do welcome to country as they go to different areas, which means the acknowledgement of country doesn't mean as much because we're not indigenous. So there's certain things where, because of familiarity, because we don't actually use it, then it doesn't mean as much to us. And just different perspectives. So I'm just going to split everybody up and put some breakout rooms up. All right, so room 1, you can do the first 2 questions. And room 1 is Courtney, Darcy, Dylan, and Jody. So I'll go down and I'll let you screenshot 2 questions. So screenshot with your laptop or your phone, take a photo with it, whatever works. Courtney, Darcy, Dylan, and Jody. And then number 2. That's number 2. And then we'll feedback. Everybody will bring their answers back afterwards, and see how great the answers are. They'll all be great, is what I mean. We're not going to slag them off or anything. So that's the first 2 questions for the first 4 people. The next room is going to be Barani, Alison, Mick, and Sam. So it's going to be 3. Well, for each of the following historical issues, describe what happened and the impact on the First Nation communities today. 4, provide a brief explanation of how colours are used in First Nations art. There's 2 types of activities you could organise for a group that reflect First Nation art and colours. So everybody has to answer all of these questions for the assessment, obviously. But tonight you're just researching your 2. 3 and 4 is Barani, Alison, Mick, and Sam. And then next one is 5. Why is kinship important? And this is Carmen, Madison, Merzette, and Nikita. So this is 5 and 6. What is one issue for traditional kinship in modern day Australia? And lastly, Billy, Coco, Glenn, and Mem. Oh, well done. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. Yeah, sorry. I thought I'd struggled with the big numbers there. 7. Billy, Coco, Glenn, and Mem. 7, 8. And 9, maybe. if you have time, you can do 9. You don't have to rush to. It's more important that you get quality answers for 7 and 8 rather than doing 9 as well. Barani, yes.
Can we get the learner guide, please, in the chat?
Yes. Yeah, I'll throw that in before anybody disappears.
Thank you.
That's all right. Right. I'll do it now before we do anything else, and then I won't forget. Um, yeah, you're researching the answers, definitely answer them, yeah. Don't put the answers in your, if you've got Accelerate open, there's no need to put the answers into your portal. Just keep them separate for now. All right, so all right, just put the learning guide there. Just click on it and it'll just download straight to you. I'll give you a few seconds to download that, and then I'm going to send everybody off to breakout rooms, and it'll ask you to click accept or something so that you get taken to a breakout room. Just accept it, and then it'll take you to the other 3 people.
Hey, Dwayne, just before we break out,
Yeah.
so I entered CHCDIV002. I'm trying to access where the questions are. Is it like the PowerPoint session 1, learner guide, PowerPoint? Which one do I click?
Sorry, hold on. I'll just send this to one person. I need to send it to everybody, not just one person. So the assessments, they're on, actually, somebody's just said that it might not be open yet.
No.
I really wouldn't worry about trying to find it on the portal yet, because if somebody's saying that it's not open, you might be looking all night before you see it. Can anybody actually see any of the assessments?
No, it's not there.
Right, okay. What were you going to say, Sam?
Oh, I was going to ask if you could click back, please, onto question 3. I wasn't quick enough in
Yeah.
taking a photo
That's
of
all right.
the question.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, wait. Oh.
Anybody else need any others?
Thanks, Dwayne.
That's right. All right, it's almost 22. We can easily go to break time now, and then we'll, yeah, we'll go to break time, and then we can feedback afterwards. And then we've got a role play to do, or a few role plays, because it's a few different people, isn't it? Who's got that role play to do again?
Dwayne, can you just scroll down or up or whatever so that I can see what's
Oh,
there?
that, yeah.
Thank you. Got it.
All right, I'll open the breakout rooms then.
2003.
Okay. I'm not marking them now, so I'm not going to say whether it's right or wrong.
There's 4 of them.
Probably because I don't know yet. But yeah, it would be wrong for me to mark the answers right now without you uploading. So what did you just say, Courtney?
The
This
Aboriginal
one?
Cultural Heritage
Oh,
Act,
this one.
yeah, 2003, and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Heritage Protection Act, 1984.
And racial
All right.
discrimination in the Act, Native Title Act.
This one as well, Glenn, you reckon?
There's 4. There's 4 of them. Out of all of them, the 4 of them.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, and 6. Out of
All right.
all of them.
Number 2. Research cultural celebrations, one from a First Nation culture and one from another culture different to your own, and complete the following table. So this is just ideas. You don't have to use the same as everybody else. What have you got? First group.
I got the National NAIDOC Week, sorry.
Oh.
The National Reconciliation Week for this. What is the celebration?
Yeah.
And what does the celebration represent? The history and the culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. And then how is it celebrated through community events, cultural activities, and recognizing First Nations excellence. It's also in school events and school programs. And how could you share it? Is by celebrating and contributing to NAIDOC Day by the school events, community programs, stuff like that. That's for the First Nation celebration. Yeah, cultural celebrations, I did Turkish and the Republic Day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The Republic
Tell
Day
me more about that then. Yeah.
It was proclaimed by the National Assembly of Turkey in, I forgot what day it was actually, 1923. And it's celebrated through festival, concert, fireworks, events at school and cultural programs. And how could I share it? Would have been through attending the festivals and contributing to Republic Day by celebrating through the events of schools and other cultural programs.
Sounds great. All right. So,
but that's just one of us.
And also,
Yep.
Sorry, and also we Bastille Day, the national holiday in France and its overseas departments and territories, marking the anniversary of the fall of July 14th, 1789 of the Bastille in Paris. Originally built as a medieval fortress, the Bastille eventually came to be used as a state prison.
Pretty intense.
Yeah. They have a festival on July 14th to commemorate the storming of the Bastille prison in 1789. It's just something they have every year of Bastille Day. And they have it in Australia.
All right, let's jump on to the next group, which was Barani, Alison, Mirza, and Sam. Question 3. Anyone?
I didn't write anything down. We were just looking through stuff, like learner guide and finding out the best place to find the answers. I didn't actually write anything down, sorry.
It's all right. No problem.
That's why I thought we were just researching.
All good.
No, that's all right.
Anybody get any?
Was that my group, Dwayne?
No.
No, not yet. Barani, what did you get?
We didn't write down the answers. We figured out that this question, I think we answered all the parts of this question, but we didn't get to question 4 yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well
That's fine.
I can fill in the blanks there because I've got that.
Cool.
Yeah, so the British colonization and power imbalance. What happened? the British claimed land without a treaty, disregarding existing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander laws and customs. The impact, loss of sovereignty, ongoing discrimination, and marginalization.
Yeah.
Then for loss of land and culture, First Nations people were forcibly removed from their land, disrupting traditional ways of life. And then the impact was loss of connection to land, language, and cultural identity. Then you got the stolen generation. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children were forcibly removed from their families. Impact, loss of family bonds, trauma, and disconnection from culture.
Generational trauma.
Generational trauma. Introduction of alcohol. What happened? Alcohol was introduced by colonizers, leading to misuse and dependency. Impact, health issues, social problems, and community breakdown, family violence, etc. Introduction of disease. European settlers introduced disease like smallpox and influenza. High death rates, population decline, and weakened communities.
Thank you. Great, Mirza. Did anybody manage to get anything for this one? Or these anything here? If not, it's fine. It's all
No.
good.
Yeah, I've got the colours.
Well, go on then, Glenn.
They use earthly tones like ochre and red, yellows, browns, and spiritual significance, and they use patterns in storytelling. So the use of colours is deeply rooted into their cultural traditions as a way of communicating beliefs, history, connection between people, the land, and the spiritual world.
All right, cool. Excuse me. Now, we didn't get 5 and 6, so 7, 8, or 9, or 7, 8, and 9. This was Glenn, and who else was in your group, Glenn?
Coca,
Oh, yeah.
Billy, I forgot the other gentleman's name.
Yeah. All right. So number 7, list 2 things about your own culture. This isn't fact-based. This is about personal reflection on your life and your experiences. So everybody's might be different. There's 2 things about your own culture that might affect the way you perceive others.
Yeah, so we talked about this more than actually really writing anything down. We had a bit of a discussion about how we were interpreting the question.
Okay.
Mem was going to talk about it in terms of his cultural background. But the way that I perceived it, which is when you came in, Dwayne, was that it's talking about, you know, as we discussed, and we discussed it as well a bit before you came in, about the fact that it is recognizing your own beliefs and any biases you have because of those beliefs, and then making sure that you're not letting that affect the people around you in a professional environment.
Yeah, definitely. There was a theory like a couple of years ago that it was wrong to be biased, and we can't be robots. Like, robots are not meant to be working in community services, and we're not meant to be robots all with exactly the same beliefs. We're meant to have different beliefs, different values, and all be empathic and have cultural safety and safety for other people. So that's the way it's meant to work. Let's jump on to number 8 now. there's 2 community agencies or groups that assist services to develop partnerships with First Nation families. So this has got to be location based where you are. You don't need to research any of the territories or states, just where you are.
Yeah, so we've got VACA, Victorian Aboriginal Child and Community Agency,
Okay.
and Relationships Australia Victoria is another one, or the Benevolent Society. There's plenty of them.
Cool. No,
Which
that's
is
great. What did you see? You did manage to get onto number 9, apparently,
Yep.
did you?
Yeah, we've done that one. So 3 potentially sensitive issues that relate to sharing information about First Nations culture. So using preferred terms and titles. So the use of cultural customs by non-Indigenous people, you'd need to be really aware of.
Yeah.
And it can come down to like men's and women's issues as well.
Yeah.
And so to ensure that communications are culturally appropriate, obviously consulting elders is imperative. You know, leaders in that cultural community. And we also talked about cultural accuracy as well. Like, Billy, what did you say? Like, you know, welcome to country being specific to the cultural land that you're on. Like,
Yeah.
like
So,
I know, yeah.
just, you know, acknowledging that the land that you are standing on or talking on can be different. So, you know, obviously, if you are talking to an elder or talking to elders, be wary that, you know, you're going to go into different sort of, like, it's probably the wrong word to use, but different tribes or, you know, different locations of different communities and stuff like that. So being wary of that is another great way of sort of building that sort of communication trust and sort of knocking down a few walls at the start. There is another good one.
Right, great. That's all done. Unfortunately, we didn't get the middle 2, 5, and 6. Just mixing the groups up, unfortunately. So that's it for tonight.